In this session, I will be covering the survey report. If you have set up and run a survey using CLA, and now you're wanting to report on that survey, you click on Reports, Survey Report. Your survey report screen will open. You need to select the date range that your survey ran within. It does not need to be your start date and your end date, just a time period within which that survey ran. So if I set my start date back to the 1st of December, anywhere between the 1st of December and the 13th of January, if that survey ran in that time frame, it would be available to report on. This drop down where it says Select Survey will give you a list of all the surveys that ran within that time frame. We've got two surveys that we can report on. We've got Product Survey and Become a Volunteer. If we click on Product Survey, there are now 4 different options you have when it comes to running this survey report. You can generate the report, which allows you to navigate through it, click through on the different slices of the pie chart, etc. within CLA itself. You've got Generate for Export, which will allow the export of that exact same survey report, but into one document in Excel. You've got the Transposed report, which will give you a consolidated view of all the users' responses to the questions, and you've got the Show Raw Data Only report, which will put one entry per question per user into an Excel document that can be used for data analysis. I am going to show you an example of all 4. So I'm just going to generate report. Okay, so what you will see here is a summarized pie chart of the responses on this product survey, the title of the survey, the dates that it ran, and you are able to see underneath a summarized version there were 1,441 people targeted, 609 are outstanding, 5 opted in other words they started the survey but they never completed it, 827 completed the survey, and the average duration that it took people. If you scroll down a little bit further, the summarized detail, if you expand that using the little plus, you will get a list of every user that was targeted, as well as whether they opted in and completed the survey. You are also able to click through to view that person's responses, provided you have not made this an anonymous survey. I don't think that many people would want to pull the responses person by person, so there is a consolidated view available. If you're wanting to see who completed the survey, you click onto the green slice and it will take you through to people that either completed the survey or opted out if you made it an optional survey. This one wasn't optional, so you can see nobody opted out. You are able to click through onto those 827 and then you go through to your first question. So the first question in this survey, what is your perception of our brand? The response options that the users were given is good, poor, average. You can see how many people said good, how many said poor, how many said average. If you click on the little plus next to the summarized breakdown, it will give you the numbers in a table or a grid. If you click onto the plus next to the detailed responses, it will give you a response per user, what their actual response was, what their response date and time was, and you would be able to analyze your responses that way. You would not see this detailed response grid if this question was marked to be anonymous, but you can see here the question is not anonymous. If you go to the next question, there you can see this is a scored question. Just as a quick test, which of the following areas is not covered by us? You can see that that was the split between the various options: hospital cover, medical aid, investments, etc. But you can also see, if you look at the scoring pie chart, that only 102 people were correct. So of the overall breakdown, which was pretty even per response type, the correct answers, there were only 102. Again, you've got your summarized breakdown, but you now also have a summarized score breakdown between the correct and incorrect, as well as the detailed responses, which would actually give you each person's response, as well as whether they were correct or incorrect. So basically, by moving through each of your questions, you would be able to get the responses per question that you asked. If you are wanting to export this report to Excel, you're going to generate for export. It is going to put it to you in this pie chart graphical representation with all the corresponding detail that you are able to export to Excel in one document. When the report generates, you would simply export it to Excel by clicking on Export, Excel. It's going to ask you to find the location on your PC that you're wanting to save it to. We're going to click on my Survey Reports folder, give it a name, click on Save. If we then access that report from the location that I saved it, it is going to open that report in Excel. You can see the first sheet in the Excel document gives you the summary. It gives you the breakdown of numbers. It gives you, by clicking on the little plus in the extreme left-hand side, it gives you the summarized detail as well. You're not able to click through on the pie chart in Excel. It's not interactive at all in Excel, but the detail is all there. It then puts each question as a separate tab. So you'll have question 1. There's your good, poor, average question. It does give you the summarized breakdown with a little plus. It does give you the detailed breakdown. And within Excel, you can add your filters and you can work with the data as you please. There's question 2, which is your scored one. Again, the plus in the extreme left will expand the various sections. Goes through each of the questions. You'll notice question 4 doesn't have a pie chart. This is because it was a free text question. You are able to click on the plus under the detail and you would see the actual responses that the person typed in for this free text question. Takes you through each of the questions, as well as a sheet in your document that will give you a list of all the outstanding users, as well as the opt-in with no response, the opt-outs. This wasn't an optional survey. If it was, you would have a list of users that opted out of the survey. Right, show raw data only. This format is preferred by data analysts, people that add their own pivot tables, etc. to data. So if I just generate that report to show you what it looks like. It does just give you a very, very raw data extract with one line per user, per question, how they responded, etc. So again, I could export that to Excel. It's going to ask me where I want to save it. I'm going to save it into the same location. I'm just going to call it raw data. Save that. And if I access it from the location, it does open it in Excel, and you are able to put in your filters, you are able to put in pivot tables, etc., anything that you need to work with this data. Another very popular report type, in fact, this is probably the most used report type for surveys. If I untick Show Raw Data and select Transposed, a transposed report will basically summarize your details with the questions along the top, the users along the side, and then each user's response for each of the questions. So it does say, please note that a transposed report will be generated as an Excel document and must be saved to a folder on your PC. This will then need to be viewed within Microsoft Excel. So your transposed report will not generate a view in CLA itself. It does export it directly to Excel. And you then need to choose a location for it on your PC. Give it a name and save it. It will then open the report up in Excel, and basically the first tab in this report will be your question legend. So how many questions were there? What was the question's title? What was the actual question that was asked, as well as whether the question is scored or not. A 0 indicates that it wasn't scored. A 1 indicates that it was. And then your response users would be any users that were targeted for this survey, as well as their actual response. So you'll see along the top you have got question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4, etc. up to question 5. Right? And you have each one of your users down here. So if you want to see what this user put, you would have all of their question responses along the top. So question 1, this user said good. Question 3, yes, I support the business, etc., etc. So this is a much easier report to read. You are also able to add filters in Excel to be able to maybe see how many people said good for question 1. You would be able to filter it accordingly. Response machines would put the same information but at the machine level. So if you're wanting to see what a specific machine responded, so if for instance you're in a call center and you're not 100% sure which user was sitting at that machine that day, at least you would be able to see the responses per machine. You are able to target at user level or machine level. Okay, so a very quick overview. To run a survey report in CLA, you click on Reports, you click on Survey Report, you specify the date range that your survey ran within. From the drop-down menu, you select the survey that you'd like to report on. You then select whether it's a transposed report that you want, a raw data report that you want, or our general graphical representation pie chart report. If you do click on Generate to get that specific report, or Generate for export to export the entire report to Excel.